Hey everyone, I'm Laura from Striven, and welcome to Future Proofing Your Talent Strategy, key takeaways from 2024 and what's next for 2025 with Preacta. Before we kick off today, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we all meet and are joining from today. I'm personally joining from the lands of the Gadigal people and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. Some housekeeping before we kick off on this epic panel. This session will be recorded and sent out to all attendees after this call. So if you miss anything, don't worry, you'll be able to watch it again. And we'd also love everyone to get involved in the chat. So ask questions for our panelists. We have some amazing speakers here today. We'd love this to be as interactive as possible. And to start and get everyone excited about the morning, I'd love for you to drop in the chat what you're hoping to get out of today, and we'll have a look at those. So I'll hand over now to Derek McCartney, who is the CEO of Preacta, to introduce our topic, our panelists, and kick us all off. So Derek, over to you.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Very excited to host this great panel today. We did a similar panel about 12 months ago to wrap up 2023. I think it was all fair to say 2023 was quite a different year that we were ending on and really undertaking the unknown of 2024. So we thought it'd be great to have another wrap of 2024 and get some perspectives of how that has been and ultimately what is shaping 2025. And today I'm joined by three awesome panelists. Firstly, Hassana Rudd. Hassana has been in and around the talent acquisition, people, strategic workforce planning landscape in Australia for a little while. H, do you want to give yourself an intro?
Yeah, I like the way he says a little while, a long time. I'm sort of like old enough to have started in TA before the internet really sort of kicked off, to be honest with you, on that. But yeah, so many years within talent acquisition across like national and multinational global firms, into head of people, head of talent management, and then recently I came in as the inaugural member to stand up workforce planning for Canva for the last sort of 2 and a bit years as well. So it's all the dots.
Very nice. And I hear there might be a little update on Monday about a new exciting role.
I know.
I'll have my reminder on LinkedIn just to keep an eye on it. Good luck. Maren Boyd Andrews joins us as well. And Maren is currently at Frontera, where he is operating as a global talent sourcing manager. Maren, do you want to give us an intro to yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. I also have a lovely history with Hassana. Her and I worked together many years ago, and I miss her dearly. So it's good to have you on the call, H. So I lead a global team of talent sources. We very heavily work in the AI space. There's been a massive game changer, which we'll obviously cover today, around going from 24 to 25, what that looks like. But we're heavily reliant on it, we are in probably a phase about to roll out our talent AI strategy in the business. It's a really big part of what we're doing, and it's right across the business, but we're trying to headline that work starting through talent, which is fantastic because normally talent's last. So it's lovely to have us kicking it off.
Awesome to hear, mate. Super excited to hear about that. I'm absolutely probably a sourcer deep down at heart, and AI is at the forefront. So, it's super keen to see how it comes together from a talent strategy intersection. And last but certainly not least, Garth Quinn joins us, who's the head of talent acquisition for APM, leading APM's 16,000 people across 11 countries. Garth's certainly been around the traps in Australia. So, you want to give us an intro to yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Garth from APM. I've been in and around the human services sector now for quite a while, so it's an interesting challenge. The shortages of talent in health, aging, disability is continuing to widen, and attracting those people from other sectors into these key areas is continuing to provide a challenge, because there aren't enough nurses, speech pathologists, disability support workers to go around. So how do we address those structural issues that are affecting such wide areas of the human services sector?
Yeah, amazing. Obviously, incredibly important from a community perspective as well. Great to have you on board. I think when I saw and we spoke as a panel just before, the thing I'm probably most excited about is the diverse nature of the industries and the experiences actually that we can all bring together. But let's start off with 2024. We certainly know that going into 2024, there was a lot of uncertainty and ambiguity, and I guess going through the year with whatever that is the context, there's going to be challenges and opportunities. So I guess starting off with you, Hasana, what do you see really as your key takeaways from 2024 in terms of, the challenges that presented our industry? And we'll start there and we'll shift into opportunities further on.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, the advantage I bring for being old in this industry is that as much as everything changes, it stays the same. You have the cyclical nature, you have the boom and the bust, and somewhere in between. And this has been a bit more drawn out, but the same behaviours tend to come through when it's candidate, not obviously to Garth's point, in some areas not, but when it's candidate rich, then the candidate experience falls off a cliff because everybody's not needing to feel like they need to try things, and then it flips the other way, and then it becomes the innate problem of attracting the right candidates. So that part would be nice to be actually see that smoothed out. I mean, obviously the ongoing conversations about AI and how that actually gets applied into a process and into those things when it relies upon data sets being highly accurate. And let's be honest, if you have a look at most people's data sets, they're not. So it's like, how does that work? And actually, is it AI or just automation in there? And how are you actually going to do that effectively in the flow of work? But it becomes seen as this silver bullet that, has companies go, oh, we can reduce down the size of FTA teams. And reality is that they can't, because it'll go through the other side. And I think the big opportunity is still to be able to be that talent glue around the talent strategy. So you're actually linking everything together from a workforce planning point of view. You're linking from skill gaps, from where we are with succession and internal mobility, and bringing that up to actually make sure capacity is there for TA, but that it informs it. So there isn't just, hey, you've got a great TA function, but it's opaque to where these roles are coming from or why they're coming in. Like that, there should never be that as a gap to just be able to deal with it. So I think there's some real opportunities for that still into the future around it.
Yeah, nice. I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think it does tie in really nicely from a talent strategy perspective. I'm really keen to understand how that's played out in your world, Maren, over the course of the last 12 months. We think about the industry of sourcing within TA has been really decimated in terms of capability for the last 18 months globally. How has your world shaped and sort of shifted?
It's changed immensely on many fronts. So just to give you a bit of an understanding, when I landed in Fonterra, I found that I was either trying to find talent to come into the business that were either sources that wanted to learn the tech, or I was looking for a developer that wanted to learn talent, and both didn't marry. So I either had developers going, nah, you're not going to pigeonhole me just down to talent, and I had a lot of sources that go, oh, we know how we source, we do it the way we do. But the hardest challenge around that whole piece was I hired on culture, because I know if I can get the right culture and the right people in there, they're trainable, right? We can train and upskill. So now the whole team that I have 100% work in AI. Like we write prompts, we write bots, we scrape data that way. But the challenge around 2024 was upskilling and putting to bed a lot of the fires around AI. Oh my God, we're going to lose our job. Oh my God, it's taking over, all that sort of stuff. And we really put it to bed and said, look, the human element is never going to leave, right? We still need to be what we do and speak with humans and communicate and relate and all the rest of it. And we're not going to find out anything about their behavioral and where their culture fit and everything by a CV or an AI telling us that it can. So I was really putting that to bed for 24 and just saying, hey, look, you don't need to worry about it. You won't lose your job to AI. You may lose your job to someone using AI, but you won't lose it directly to AI.
And so were you getting pressure from the business though, around headcount and your, I guess, your capability over 2024, or and your, I guess,
Yeah,
support to
sorry.
invest in the strategy?
Yeah, so I'm quite blessed because Fonterra is very forward thinking, and to build a sourcing team alone, that's a very uncommon thing, right? So to have that capacity is amazing because we are sitting like 2 to 3 months ahead of the business, talking with the leaders, what's coming, where's the gaps, what's going to be needed. And by the time the rec lands on the recruiter's desk, we go, we've already spoke to the leader. Here's 5 great people we've interviewed. Who do you want to go with? So that's been the easiest part. But to H's piece as well, like there's change in tech now. So we're looking for now renewables people. We're looking for tech. We're looking for deep tech. We're looking for all these new technologies that are not there before. So realistically, it's a big advantage for us to have that and look for that in what we're doing.
Yeah, nice, awesome. What about yourself, guys? What have you seen sort of evolve over 24 at ABM?
Yeah, I think we've really focused on the candidate experience, and we have two distinct pools of talent. So we have our health professionals, which are scarce. They are in hot demand. There is huge gaps between available talent and the general market requirements. So building an experience. So we've sort of dropped the traditional measures. Our only goal is time from engagement to time to interview. How quickly can we get that person in front of another allied health professional so they can have a career conversation? And that's without resumes, that's without background. It's just, here is a hot lead, here is an engaged person. How quickly can we have a conversation to them about a role as a physiotherapist or an occupational therapist within the wider APM business? So how quickly can we do that? On our volume roles, so employment services, just-in-time recruitment, how do we get the person that's interested on Monday and interview by Wednesday? Because the talent's not going to be there. So it's irrelevant talking about time to fill and time to hire in allied health. We filled a role in the ACT that was open for 600 days, right?
Wow.
Because that's how long it takes to find a good allied health professional in some regions of Australia. That is a systemic problem that exists in lots of areas in health, unfortunately. But what we can control is that when we have a candidate, we act as quickly as we can. We move them through the pipeline as quickly as we can, and we remove all the barriers so that's a speed to hire. So in 2025, the obvious thing is, looking forward, is how do we automate that? How do we add AI? How do we bring that so that it doesn't rely, and it's stupid that we still do this in 2024. Like, we're trying to talk to allied health professionals in the middle of the day when the TA team is working, while that person is standing in front of a client doing physio work. They're not going to answer their phone, right? So how do you provide a 24/7, 365 engagement? Chatbots, AI, automation is the obvious answer to this when it comes to allowing people to engage, ask questions. We're getting more comfortable. So 2024 has been all about focusing on the metric that matters, which is someone's engaged. Let's get them having a conversation, and it's not an interview. We call it a career conversation. And then our just-in-time stuff. How do we think like manufacturers? How do we get that product delivered as quickly as possible?
Interesting, really interesting. I think that's really, really some great takeaways there. What I think when I speaking to our clients and just around the market, I guess some of the thematics that are really front and center though in coming through 2024 and thinking about 25 is concepts of de-risking, obviously future-proofing a talent strategy through flexibility, but there's a big focus on value and efficiency. And how do you derive that? And I guess my question to all three of you is AI, is automation, is that the answer? Or is there, and how far away are we realistically from it being a practical, I guess, and consistent application, to the talent strategy operating model? H, go to you first.
Miles away. I'll be honest. There is incredible game-changing aspects to AI. However, you've got to look at how are you deploying it? What's the problem you're trying to solve for? And you really are going to have to start with like clean data. You've got to have connected clean data with which to do this, or way to connect those data links together. Otherwise, you're going to get bad data, bad responses. You'll start training it in with bias. There's going to be a bunch of struggles in there. But it should be effective in the flow of work. There should be a way to have a conversation with a candidate and go, hey, look, this is great. You know what? Let's get you booked in for a next stage right now, and have the AI be able to do that. How does that do that right now if you haven't got interlink on things as well? And, most companies still struggle with actually just doing the baselines of getting back to candidates. Even when you're rejecting, it's like, I think Matt put something up today, which I completely agree with, that the ghosting aspect is systemic still.
Even more prevalent now, because it's
seriously, people, how is it still an issue? That is straightforward automation. I've worked, Maren and I worked together. There was a lot of systems that I had created where you couldn't close a roll off, you couldn't move people to certain stages without closing the rest of the funnel, the top of the funnel down. And you could say that, that's just that it was just set in that there's a lot of stuff we'd need to do to start off and actually have that clean data and process. Then the world's the oyster, but don't make it a silver bullet, because it isn't going to be that. Or if you start saying that to businesses, they're going to start looking at you and go, well, I don't need that many people in TA, do I? Because I could replace it all by AI robots.
So process governance is what you're saying. So it needs to start with process governance, consistency, data in, data out, data richness, data quality.
Yeah, and you've got the other part to it as well. It isn't just your active candidates in a funnel, or those that you're looking to bring in. It's how then can you have AI connected into your talent management? How do you connect it into, hey, these people have got this skill base and want to go here, or these people we're looking at, they're on a succession plan. How do we actually then just suck them into a process? Like, there's a huge opportunity to do something that actually, power packs your internal talent to actually really make that dense and have that great career. That I think there's an opportunity in.
Absolutely. I think we were talking earlier about the intersection of talent management, talent development, talent acquisition. And I'm really interested because I absolutely agree with your view. Seems like Maren has taken a bit further though, and obviously is getting real application into the talent strategy. So what are you doing, Maren? And how did you get the business to really buy into that?
Yeah, so there was when I landed, it was very much an older model of send it off, wait, do the classic putting that up, and so the whole idea of controlling the spend and all the rest of it had to be looked at. We also had to do a few changes through the year as well around. We broke the sourcing team up into functions, and that worked for a time, but because the criticality of roles came into play, and like to H's point around the strategic workforce plan and where we're going and what we're doing, it changed the whole landscape for us. So we really had to look at it and then go, right, we're going to change the sourcing piece now to around critical and future. We're only going to sit in those two spaces and supporting those two spaces. But to speed it up, we basically have found pretty much we could use AI at most points from brief through to ranking. And when I say ranking, that's AI ranking. But we also find that we can use it for internal as well. So if you have a spot in your org chart and you say, hey, look, who would be best for this role? Here's the 3 people that look great or other possible successors for the role. We can talk to that data and we can say, hey, tell us about this person's background. Let's look at their development conversations. Let's look at the ways that they would go into that role. What would be their challenges if they did get in the role? All this lovely stuff we can do now with AI. But from the brief right down, if you to Garth's point earlier, some of our sections of the business are in massive influx of resumes, like thousands, for the operators and the like. So we use AI to cut that down. We use AI to cull the dead wood and go, hey, yep, look, they're not the right title, that's not the right background, there's, just serial appliers, all that lovely stuff that we get. So it cuts it down to a nice understanding of who looks good already. And there's a real focus now with AI that it's all about the skills. So I'll give you a bit of an example. We can have someone who's a highly skilled 30 years experienced leader for a particular role, but if they're not adaptable and they're not growing and they're not changing and they're not influencing and they're not in AI and they're not using tech and all the others, then I'd rather look at someone who's only 10 years experience that has got that headspace. So AI is teaching us again to go back to skills, because we can talk about the other, and it also helps to build the right culture, right? Because we're going in that direction of we need to be at the forefront and changing and moving and have people in the business that do think that way as well. The whole bit behind it, where I will say all those pieces that we've put AI in, from the brief through to the placement, we've got AI in every part of that. Now, that's not to say there's no human element in it. There's just an element of AI in it. It may be the ranking. It may be just identifying. It may be pulling data. It may be a prompt that we've created to actually harness the data or talk to the data or talk to candidates. But the nurturing is always important. The human element has to be there. The lovely part about AI for us, we've got to a stage where we can get all the AI to do the stuff that allows us to get back to the people, right? It allows us to get back to what really matters. We're in the space of people and looking after them and nurturing them and giving them opportunities and developing and all the rest of it. But it eliminates that bias, right? Because when the human element comes back into it, you can go, well, the AI is telling me this. Let's ask these sort of questions. Let's dive into this a little bit more about them. So it's been a lovely change for the business, and Fonterra's right on par, mate. It's so good. They're very supportive of what we do, and there's a massive push for it to upskill further across the business, because
Honestly,
not everyone's comfortable with it. Yeah.
It's great to hear. It's great to hear, because I think it's an absolute aberration across the industry right now rather than the norm. And I think that type of case study we need to be bringing to life more in 2025. Great work. Garth, what about yourself? How are you finding it, and what are your, we spoke briefly earlier about a couple of examples you had to how you implementing
There's
AI.
there's a couple of areas that come to mind. So I think one of the areas that we're trying to address the allied health shortages, we're creating a number of different types of roles to support people, particularly in the disability space, to get access to services. And the types of people that we're recruiting are nurses and teachers who can help deliver programs to clients supported by the allied health professional in the background. So there's two problems that raises. One, how does a teacher or a nurse understand whether or not this is the job for them? So when we go to market and we talk about things like key workers as a job, what does that mean? Is this for me? Would I be interested in this? So I think there's an opportunity there as a process, as an AI type scenario, to give a realistic job preview. We're doing that now, I guess, in the traditional sense with videos, but we're working on ways, how do we integrate a realistic job preview with a bit of an assessment type scenario so we can match the underlying skills, give that person an opportunity to make an informed decision about, yes, I want to opt in for this role, I want to opt out of this role because it's not for me. It's giving opportunities there. So they're roles where they're not the traditional roles that a teacher or a nurse might think about doing, but we think they've got the underlying skills. So talking about that skills economy, here's a way we're trying to address a real technical shortage in the market. So having that happen, have some AI score it and all that sort of stuff, that looks really interesting. But where does the people come in? So the TA team, what we want the TA team to do is feed that funnel, right? So they should be out talking to people, explaining the roles, engaging with people at road shows and careers fairs, and all, having that human interaction. And I saw a stat which was interesting, and I think TA and dating, and hang with me for a second, has this real parallels, right? So I saw some stats about the disconnect on things like Tinder and Bumble and those type of things, right? People are looking for the human touch in dating. Now, the dating apps have been around for a while, right? People are getting sick of them. I know like run clubs have become like the number one place to go and meet people. So I think TA is going to have this AI love fest for a period of time, but we can't forget there's a human element to what we do. And we need to ensure that AI, that humans can talk to humans. And that's what TA teams are going to be, right? We're going to be at the top of the funnel, engaging with people, let the bots do what bots are good at, but make sure we don't forget that people element. And the second element, I think Sana talked about as well, is how do you uncover the talent within your own organisation? And it's something that we've been working on as well, right? So how do we find those skills inside our organisation and promote them? And one of the concepts that we're thinking about is, so data analytics, for instance, there might be someone in finance who's really good at data analytics, but it's only 10% of their job, right? But the person that does data analytics, 80% of their role, they're not quite as good or might not as enjoy it. So how do you match the skills? How do you design teams and functions around these skill sets so that the people who are good at it and enjoy it can do that more? So they're not looking for a job outside your organization for a job that has more of that skill that they really like. So how are we uncovering those people to move them? Because the internal mobility piece, keep making people sticky to your organization, I think is going to continue to be a challenge for organizations. And if you can do that, and particularly as a human services business, if we can bring people off the frontline services who get what that looks like, they've worked in employment services, they've worked in a health environment, if they're helping building IT structures or if they're helping with finance or helping with HR, they get what the challenges are of these frontline workers, and it's not removed from them. So that having that experience in those roles is invaluable if they're helping design systems or processes from a corporate point of view. So they're the two areas that we're really trying to think about how we get better at automation, skills matching, bringing people up out of the darkness to be in the spotlight so we can find them.
Very, very pertinent point, and I think focus strategically moving forward, especially coming out of the market over the last, probably 12 to 24 months, is going to be that intersection. I'm conscious about time. With all these things, we can always get into dialogue and we can probably talk for hours. 3 minutes, one takeaway each. Hassan, I know you got a smoke bomb hard stop on 11, so let's start with you. What is one of your sort of key takeaways or concepts you're taking into 2025 and into your new exciting role? What is it?
I think it's the advantage that AI deployed really well is that you can do more with more. What I mean by that is you can do more human-based work with the humans as opposed to them spending time on the other things, which means it gives that real opportunity to be the gluey function between everything of the business strategy, HR strategy, talent management, talent development strategy, and TA, to be able to join all those dots together and actually be there at the nexus to that, I think is an amazing opportunity for the profession going forward. Like, you're linking it all together with that flow of workforce planning in there that will lead to completely game-changing opportunities for organizations that nail it. Because it is always about that great talent you have in an organization means that you're delivering on the business requirements. No matter what it is, it's coming down to that.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's a huge opportunity there to go. If we can get that part right with AI, yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Nice.
I am always positive.
Yes, you are.
Always.
Maren, what about yourself?
Mine's a real quick takeaway to wrap up. It's really important. I hear it a lot when I do a lot of conferences and the like. But please don't think you're behind the ball with AI. For those that haven't picked it up yet, for those that are in it today, and for those that are heavily experienced, all it takes is tech to do one upgrade, one change, and we're all back to square one. All right. So please put it to bed. Know when you join and when you get involved and you start to invest in yourself in AI, is at the point is where it's at. It's a very new tech. It's only been around for 2 years. But it's a lovely way for you to dive in now, because really in 10 years from now, you're going to go, oh, I should have started when I started back then. But everything's back to square one. As soon as there's something new improved, we're all there. We're all there.
Nice, mate. Nice. Thank you. Garth, what about yourself?
I'm in the middle of implementing a new ATS, which is always fun, and to challenge yourself about each box in the process step, right? Is it best to be a person? Is it best to be an automation? Or is it best to be an AI, right? Like, really challenge that, right? What's the most effective thing? So, and err on the side of people at the top of the funnel and AI and automation at the bottom, right?
Awesome.
Let the bots do what they're good at.
Thanks, mate.
And let people have conversations with people.
Yeah, nice. Keep it human. All right, I'm conscious about time. We are going to need to wrap up. I appreciate obviously the three of you, Hasana, Garth, and Marion Boy, joining us today, and obviously the audience. It's just a precursor to setting us up. We're going to do a bunch of webinars and workshops with Strive in Q1 and Q2 in 2025. Very excited to see where 2025 goes. I think that we are all feeling much more excited and bullish and optimistic about 2025, and that's why we need Hasana on here to lift us up. But yeah, thank you to everyone. Thanks for joining today, and I wish you a Merry Christmas festive season, and see you in 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Bye.
Bye.